Willow has had a very tumultuous history, from one of the most mediocre brawler releases in Brawl Stars history to a sneaky rise in the meta. It seems like she's basically been at every tier at this point. And in this video, we'll take a look at Willow, her basics, and then talk more about her history and why she's uniquely equipped to deal with power creep and aggressiveness. If you want a fun place to talk about Brawl Stars, join a Discord server. Link will be in the description. Also, make sure to subscribe to keep up the PowerPoints, and finally, if you want to support the channel, become a member. You also get to choose new PowerPoint brawlers and help me out. Finally, if you like the music in the video, it's also made by me, so check out my music channel if you're curious for more. Let's start out with the basics. Willow has a solid health of 6600 and a normal movement speed. Willow's main attack deals 800 damage per second for 3 seconds and can be thrown, with a range of 7.33 tiles and a slow reload speed. Willow super sees her fire a hex at enemies, letting her control them. When Willow controls an enemy, she gains 50% damage reduction and can control the brawler for 4 seconds, or whenever the enemy reaches under 30 health. Furthermore, the brawler she controls automatically goes to full health after being controlled. With the basics out of the way, let's get to talking about Willow. At first glance, she seems remarkably similar to a brawler like Barley. They both have the same reload speed and range, both artilleries, same movement speed, and, well, the nuance comes with their main attack. Barley's attack lingers while Willow's doesn't. Ironically, this makes Barley more of a controller than Willow, being able to effectively control vast areas with his main attack and keep enemies far apart. Though, to be fair, Willow's control comes more from her control over enemy actions rather than enemy areas. On the other hand, since Willow has to hit enemies directly to damage them, she relies on more confrontational gameplay than Barley, often taking more risks, especially when considering her super. What's especially important with Willow is that she's the only thrower able to poison enemies. A lot of the throwers rely on making sure their enemies don't heal back up, like Tick, Sprout, and Barley for example. However, these guys require consistent shot hits. Willow, however, can hit one shot and prevent enemies from healing for longer, which is very important for a thrower. But of course, the most interesting part of Willow's kit comes with her super. Her super can genuinely be a game changer, and it's easy to see why. Being able to control enemy movement and actions, even for a few seconds, can completely shift the tide of the game, turning a 3v3 game into a 4v2, and can be a death sentence. Your super is especially good in certain modes. In Knockout, it's always a risk, considering the fact you have to stand still while using your super, but it can still be a game changer. Knockout specifically is an extremely numbers-based game. If you want to win, you have to have more teammates than enemies. Willow turns this on its head, however, and can turn a 1v2 into a 2v1 and so on. Having what's basically an extra teammate while removing an enemy at the same time can enable incredible comebacks or just ensure a victory. In Gem Grab, Willow can cause headaches with her ability to control the main gem carrier and bring them to her team. Heist is another underrated game mode of hers. Her DPS isn't horrible with 3 ammo dealing 7200, however, her super can go crazy on either attack or defense. She can guard against someone going crazy on the safe, or use someone who has the potential to go crazy on the opponent's safe, like a Cole, and deal important damage. Finally, Brawl Ball. This is where she's especially broken. Being able to control enemies in a game like Brawl Ball is genuinely broken. If you're close to the goal as a Willow, all you need to do is control an enemy and you basically get a free goal. If your enemy is close to your goal as a Willow, all you need to do is control them and you get a free get out of jail card. Now let's talk more about her super usage. The main thing you need to keep in mind is who you're going to control. Obviously, like someone like Jean, you want to try and control the most important person on their team, but most likely that won't be optimal. One of the interesting things about Willow's super is that it makes the enemy who is controlled full health. Because of this, you need to be careful about who and when to use the super on. Using it on a low health enemy that's about to die will basically revive them, so it's usually best to try and use it on a higher health enemy that won't gain as much health back. Now, when using super, there's a lot of stuff you can do with your super, and there's a lot you can do wrong. If used wrong, you can sentence yourself or your team to death. For example, taking control of a BB and not moving far enough away can lead to you dying, considering that Willow isn't great against aggro brawlers. But anyway, when controlling your opponent, the main thing you want to do is weaken your opponent. Usually you want to completely waste enemy ammo, or if it's a weaker brawler, bring them closer to your team to be finished off easily once the control is done. Furthermore, you could also use the controlled brawler to attack enemies, which can cause significant damage to the enemies and the brawler itself, or at the very least cause chaos within enemy lines. Finally, another use, and this is only for showdown and knockout, is taking the enemies into the smoke to kill them. Overall, there's almost limitless potential for Willow's super. There's so much you can do with it, yet at the same time there's a lot of trade-offs associated with it. The chief one being the factor is completely still as Willow during the super. This means you need to be careful when using it and not use it in a stupid spot, like completely out in the open or in the middle of a big fight where multiple enemies are close. Furthermore, you want to make sure your teammates can help defend you while under control, or you could do it yourself with your own controlled brawler. Now let's talk briefly about her release. On release, Willow was released quite weak. Her super was basically impossible to hit and super difficult to charge up. Furthermore, she was released with a devious amount of bugs, especially considering her super, and she couldn't even damage enemies until 1 second after she shot her attack. Releasing a brawler weak is always dangerous. The stage that's the most delicate for a brawler is the release stage, which is why Brawl Stars nowadays usually releases brawlers super strong. Releasing a brawler weak is basically a death sentence for their play rates, even months and years afterwards, and that's exactly what happened with Willow, and it's also why they never actually released a weak brawler again. And since then, Willow has been constantly underrated by the player base and gone mostly under the radar, but she has sneaked her way up to the very top of the B tier, and arguably even the A tier in a meta that shouldn't be conducive to her. How? Well, first of all, the sheer amount of buffs she's gotten since her release, especially to her super. Her super range, her super width, super damage reduction, and more have all combined to make sure she's a lot more viable. Furthermore, she's gotten useful buffs in other areas, such as her health, making her much more equipped to face off against aggro brawlers, and give her much more breathing room during her super. However, one of the biggest reasons she's still thriving in this new meta has nothing to do with buffs. It all has to do with her super. See, her super allows her to control enemies. So it stands to reason, the more powerful the enemies, the more powerful Willow's super becomes. So, unlike most other brawlers who actually get worse with more power creep, Willow has a built-in tool to deal with this power creep. Furthermore, she's also a natural counter to hypercharges. If Willow can hide a hypercharge brawler with her super, she can basically waste the whole hypercharge, which in the case of a brawler like Terra or Crow, can be a game changer. Now let's talk about Willow's unlockables, starting with her gadgets. Spellbound sees Willow's next attack deal 3000 damage all at once. There's nothing much to say about this one, other than that it's very solid and just gives Willow more consistent and quicker damage. Dive sees Willow die for 2 seconds, being immobile but invincible for that time. This is solid in certain scenarios like dodging a powerful attack, such as Mandy's super. Also, it can be used to waste enemy ammo while also giving Willow more time to safely reload, but the immobility limits its usefulness. Now, let's talk about her star powers. Her first star power is Love is Blind, which reduces the reload speed of brawlers who are currently poisoned by her. This definitely can be useful, especially against aggro brawlers, allowing her more of a chance in a 1v1 fight without her super. Her second star power is Obsession, which sees enemy brawlers that are controlled by Willow gain a movement speed increase of 240 points and last for 3 seconds. This star power gives Willow more breathing room when using her super, as the movement speed increase allows Willow to get the enemy farther away or closer, and can be extremely useful in Brawl Ball for scoring. Willow's Hypercharge sees her gain an invulnerability shield until her Hex is broken during her super. This is nothing crazy, and there was definitely a lot of potential for the Hypercharge, but still not that bad. It basically removes the trade-off that her super has, allowing her to not worry about her own safety during her super. Overall, Willow is one of the coolest brawlers in the game in my opinion. Her mechanic of being able to control enemy brawlers opens her up to a lot of interesting gameplays and a lot of interesting scenarios. Unfortunately, due to her release, a lot of people have missed out on understanding her, but it's never too late, and now's a great time, considering she's probably only going to get better and better with more and more buffies being dropped. But, as always, thanks for watching. Watch this video, or this playlist, or join the Discord server.